creative space, I'm delighted to have a daughter of the Antigua and Barbuda soil who has lived the dream of returning to Africa. And we're about to find out what led her there and separate the dream from the reality. Tashika Levan is a former Carnival Queen, the 50th anniversary Carnival Queen of Antigua and Barbuda, and she's also part of the media fraternity, and I'm excited to hear what's going on with her now. Welcome, Tashika.
Thank you so much, Joanne, for having me. It's an honor. It's a pleasure because you are one of my role models. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for agreeing to do it. I think for me, since our ancestors came here in chains, and since I've known myself, I have dreamed of returning to Africa, not to live, but to visit. You live there. Tell me what led you there.
So for those who don't know, I mean, if you're on my Facebook page, my Instagram, I've shared this story so many times, and I think it's important to share it because it is in fact what led me here. When I was in Antigua, I was attending the St. John's Catholic Primary School. And of course, we know that that is a mixed institution. You have people from all walks of life, children coming together and learning. However, in the midst of going through those years, I actually had to deal with some unconscious bias, I'll call it that. Because I mean, our children are innocent, but because of the influences of the people around them or the media, we know that it shapes the way how they see things and look at people. So for me, I dealt with colorism, I dealt with racism, because it was happening from both white children and Black children. I was called names like monkey, I was called names like Blackie. In fact, everyone who really called me, they wouldn't even say Tashika, they would say Blackie. And it came to a point where I dealt with it, but it took its toll. And after a while, I just could not take that anymore. And so I went home one day and I cried to my daddy and I said, Daddy, this is what is happening to me. I don't like it, and so on, so on, so on. I will never forget my dad holding my face, looking me in my eyes and letting me know how beautiful I am. He told me my skin, the power that is in my melanin. He told me about my hair, how beautiful my hair is. And then he went in to speak about my African culture and specifically how powerful my ancestors were. And I will tell you this, Joanne, I don't know what happened, but he allowed this spark to light up within me. And it took me to a place of confidence, of belief in myself. And for that, I praise him all the time. I remind him all the time. And I say, Daddy, it is because of you. You don't know, you planted a seed in my mind. You planted a seed in my spirit. From that day, it was full on. I went into Miss Petite. I didn't win, but I got most photogenic. And that in itself was like, I'm beautiful. And then it went on to other pageants, went into the media, doing TV, and then going straight even into my university life. Because even though I went to Jamaica to study media and communications, I ended up doing a minor in African cultural studies because of the voice of my father in my head. So what really led me to was that conversation, that whole experience, and my father letting me know that I come from the most powerful people on this planet, the strongest, most resilient race of people.
What was
so
it
I said, okay.
What was it that made you decide that that was the time, though? Because when you left here, you went initially to Canada. You were there for a while, and now you're in Africa. Like, what was we know the spark was lit in childhood, but what was that bridge at that point in your life?
There was a lot of things that were happening. And I mean, eventually I will talk about all of it. I did tell you earlier that, you know, I'm hoping that I can create a space, whether it's a podcast or YouTube channel later on in this year. And I will speak about it because truthfully, it's a lot of things that happened that wasn't feeling right in my spirit. And I did a lot of research, a lot for months. In fact, I can say it, I had done a hysterectomy. My fibroids actually forced me into making that decision. And during those months of feeling incomplete, I had to rewire my mind. And in rewiring my mind, I had to get in touch with my innermost spirit. And that made me search deeper than I've ever searched before to find out who I am, who I really am, and to rediscover my strength and my true nature as a Black African woman, especially in a space like Canada, where there's so many influences from here, there, and everywhere. I mean, we all know that Toronto is a melting pot. You're literally being influenced by every person possible on this earth. So I had to find a way to just stay within myself. And I said, you know what? I can't heal in this same space. I have to go where my spirit has constantly been haunting me to go throughout my entire life. And that was Africa.
So it's been a journey of healing. Okay. It's been a journey of healing for you. Definitely
a journey of healing for me. And at the time as well, Ghana was having their year of return promotion. So everything.
They were like, come home, come home.
Yes.
I love that because I find that, I mean, look at this Zoom. You have two dark-skinned sisters who are part of a family that is global. You mentioned Canada. We live in, I'm in the Caribbean, you're in Africa, now you're in Ghana specifically, and yet we are one family, whether we want to embrace it or not. Our family,
well, you see it.
Our family went through trauma. Slavery was one long night of trauma, and we're coming out of it because it's not something you come out of. We know that's not how healing works.
No.
So we're all one family. So the idea that we get to return at some point, if not to stay, but to at least reconnect, is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
How were you received?
Oh, well, I'll tell you this. Once you start to talk like Antiguan dialect,
true.
You're going to maybe like a patois, because I mean I was in Jamaica, so you know, and my stepfather was in Jamaica for a long time, so I interchange.
And
we all know that Antigua and Jamaica are basically one when it comes to our language. Just certain things we would say.
That's like a different. But when I was living in Jamaica, I got mistaken for Jamaican sometimes. So yeah.
Thank you very much. And when I was at UWI, they actually called me Jamtigan. That was my whole name. Because them never know. Like, wait, this girl Antiguan? You sure? Where bad?
But don't tell that to an Antiguan, because part of the family thing is the Antiguan love say, oh, they sound like Jamaican.
Well, when they come here, they will be mistaken for Jamaican. I guarantee you that. Because that's one of the first things. Once they hear the dialect,
welcome.
Welcome home. You said it. That's exactly what they say. Welcome home, sister. Welcome home, brother. And it is so beautiful. It's so heartwarming to hear that. Because when you meet Ghanaians and you meet good ones, because the reality is there will be,
it's like any place.
In every community
yes.
across the world, you are going to find extremes. So when you come across the beautiful Ghanaians, because most of them are, I tell you, you form lifelong bonds. They look out for you. They are so helpful. When I tell you, when I came here first, I was a little nervous. By say 1 week time, hey, you will swear that I'm a Ghanaian.
And you've been there since 2019?
19, yes, since 2019. And I have never felt scared. I have felt disappointment, which we will get into, but I have never felt scared. I have never felt like I'm not at home. And believe you me, as much as I love Canada, and Canada will forever be a place for me that I will love. But the way how I feel at home right now, I never felt that in Canada.
More at home than Antigua?
Antigua is no comparison. Joanna, put me in a no problem. Antigua, I'm a neighbor's string.
Because sometimes, you know, people, you left Antigua in a very public way, but I never felt that doesn't mean that you reject home. I think some people might have interpreted it.
Yes.
So it's important to set the record straight that you are Antiguan then, now, and forever.
I'm a proud Antiguan, always have been. I have never said anything that has not been true, because as I said, wherever you are going to have your challenges, you're going to have your failures and have your successes, you're going to have things that you like and you don't. And everybody knows Ashika. I call a spade a spade. I share my experiences, but in terms of me and my love for Antigua, that has never changed. It has never wavered. Disappointment is one thing, but love, that. So for me, there's no comparison. In fact, when I walk in Ghana, the way how I feel like I'm still in Antigua in a Bolands, it's amazing.
That's cool. That's cool. So what has surprised you though about the journey? And I'm going to say you surprised without any sort of it can be negative, it can be positive. In fact, I'd like one of each. What has been a negative surprise and what has been a positive surprise about returning to Ghana? And I say returning because ancestrally we're from Africa, and a lot of us came from West Africa.
Yes. I think anyone who really has an understanding of our colonial past, especially on the continent here, you cannot be coming here thinking that this is America. Don't come here with that mindset, because our people here have been through more than any of us, whether we're in the US or in the Caribbean, in the UK.
But I think we forget that the way colonization worked is that, remember they used to say the sun never sets on the British Empire, and the British Empire was just one of the colonial powers. So they were enslaving us in the Americas, and I'm using Americas hemispherically there, and they were also colonizing Africa.
Yes, yes. And you see it, because even when you look at the systems that are in place, from the education to the religion to the economy, the politics, the way how everything is set up in this place, it is to keep a system going in covert ways. You see it even when you visit the slave castles, or I like to call them the slave dungeons. The church is right there. I actually did a tour recently, a live tour, never done before in that castle. I was the first person to do it, and I'm so proud, because the reality is that for the people who tuned in, even after it was done, you heard their reaction. There was disappointment, there was pain, there was disbelief. They couldn't believe the role the church has played in enslaving our ancestors. And so for me, that was one of the deepest things that I had to struggle with, to see how much our people have been so indoctrinated that they hate themselves, to the point where they will tell you straight out, oh, you have how many times they've said, oh, Abaya, because my local name is Abaya. They will say, oh, you have a white mind. You're so smart. You have a white mind. You know how you don't have this African useless mind.
Beautiful is white. Smart
everything
is white.
Thank you. Yeah. Everything that is Black is demonized. It is dark. It is evil. And it shows even in the way how they demonize the cultural systems here. Even me just burning my sage, I've been called a witch. Me meditating on the beach, I've been called a witch. The way how I carry myself, I am just, I'm different for them.
So what has been a positive surprise?
Positive, and I can't say that it is a surprise, but it's a reminder of who we really are as Africans, not just on the continent, but across the diaspora. There is a big thing here where one has to invite a person. Once they're eating, you have to invite the person who is the people who are around you to come and eat, even though they know that they're not supposed to. Really, it's just a matter of courtesy. Those are some of the things. Saying thank you.
No, wait, before you go into the thank you, go back to the food thing. So if you're eating, other people around you have to eat.
If you are eating, it is the most courteous thing. It is expected that even if they say they're not going to come and eat, and they will just say thank you, but you have to say you're invited.
We still see vestiges of what you just described in the
That's true, because we know we're supposed to say thank you. We know we're supposed to greet everyone that we meet, and that's one of the things that I love so much, because it reminds me of how I grew up in Bolands. So that's why I say they are not surprises, but they are reminders, because it used to be that way.
Yeah.
And I know because it was something that my mother even taught me as a child. So to see it here, it's some of the things that make me smile from my heart. I think also one of the things that was a bit surprising though for me was just how similar things are, from the food to the language. I mean, anchovy, we say anchovy. The anchovy, same way here, eggplants.
So anchovy is a what word? What language is that?
Anchovy is Chi. It's Chi.
Okay.
It's like a universal language, but it's mostly used by the Fantis and the Ashanti, the Ashanti people.
But that makes sense. I understand fungi is another word that we brought with us.
Yes, we brought fungi, which really was fufu, but somehow I don't know how that, but we know how it is. When you see things, years go by, things are lost in translation and so forth, but still the fufu is there, the banku is there in terms of the technique, the turning of the cornmeal in the pot, on the coal stove. That's still there. The texture of the fungi using the okra, that is still there with the fufu as well.
You're making me smile because I don't think we understand. We study slavery in history books. I don't think we understand how complete it was in erasing our humanity. And yet we managed to hold on to these little things that should have been lost, because our language was scrubbed from our tongue. Our sense of self was scrubbed from us, and yet we still hold on. I was talking to you about the Anansi stories. I mean, we talk about spirituality. Think of all the gods who would have survived. And Anansi, I said to you, because he was the one who carried the stories. He survived.
Yes.
So it's just fascinating to me.
Absolutely. It fascinates me too, because even when you look at the resilience of Africans today, despite their lands and resources being pillaged, and when I say pillage, I have seen it with my own eyes right in the village that I am. I mean, the Chinese come, the Europeans come, everybody comes and they take and they take and they take and they take advantage of the people, because they know that the poverty level is so strong that any little thing, which is not even money, is dust, they will take it, and they will work hard to get these minerals that they're making so much money off of. And yet still, these mothers carrying the baskets on their head and their babies on their backs, somehow they still manage to wake up every day with enthusiasm and hope. So I don't know, it's empowering for me.
Yeah, it's empowering, but you also just reminded me that the cycle continues, because the colonization did not die with the British.
It has not. It has not.
It's just took different forms, different colonizers. Something on a lighter note that you just said that created a visual for me. When I was a child, you used to see those women with the stuff on their head, and I would say to myself, "Yeah, this is a lost art form. I can't do that. I can't put something on my head. No hand.
Wow. I've been trying for 4 years now.
And they're able to just walk on our uneven roads with the thing on their head, and nothing fall in the water, spill over, nothing fall out. Can go so. But
I know.
From the motherland, and now it's kind of faded. But yeah, you have to teach me that if you learn it when you come back.
I'm definitely going to learn it. There's so many things I say I will have to learn, so that when I come back home, because Antigua will always be home, and I'm definitely going to make it my business. The day I touch down, it will not just be, I'm coming back to relax. It's going to be a moment of me to pass on something that I think is very powerful, that needs to be preserved. So
I think you need to bring some of us over there so we can see for ourselves. I mean, it's a business idea to make it go. For
sure. One of the things that I hope to do eventually is to, they have these pilgrimages, these annual pilgrimages and stuff. And it is a dream of mine. It's actually something that I really wanted to do before mad things started to happen and I started to experience the other side of reality. But I know that at some point it will happen, because I'm not a person that gives up. I think anybody knows me, they know that I'm always still pushing and planning.
Do you want I won't push, but do you want to say anything about that side that you've intimated? The other side?
Yes, because I think as a person who has been here for quite a while, it would be crazy for me not to. and irresponsible as well, because there are many people who have already indicated their interest in coming. And I know some of them even are thinking about repatriating, just as I've done. One of the things that you have to be very careful about when you come here is recognizing who is coming with good intentions and who's coming with bad intentions. Because literally there is a scamming culture where it's a career now. It's literally a career that people have created, where they will befriend you for a long time. They will get you comfortable, and then the moment that you are vulnerable, say for instance, I can say it in my case, I had become sick. I was in a hospital. I was in a coma for 3 days, and because of how it's malaria. Malaria here, you have to be very careful with malaria. And during that time, I had people who were very close to me that I trusted, to the point where they had my banking information. Big mistake. Because I think at some point, no matter how good you are, for some people, there are certain things that they so dream of. The moment they have a glimpse of it, they take advantage. And that's what happened with even 2 of the children that I had adopted unofficially, who were living with me, and also friends that I thought were good to me. I was scammed. And you have to be very careful with that. I will just say that as a warning. Be mindful. There are beautiful people here, mostly beautiful people, but there are a few low vibrational entities.
So that's a practicality. I'm glad we got into that about, the diseases you have to prepare for.
Yes.
You can't just go, I'm home, let me just, you have to also be
accept everything. Yeah, you cannot accept everything.
What do they know about us over there?
They know about Bob Marley.
Of course. Of course.
They even know about Vibes Cartel and Popcorn.
Go on.
And that's the younger people.
I would say this, no matter where I've traveled in the world, they know about Bob Marley. It's crazy.
For sure. Even Usain Bolt. Yeah. That is expected. Yeah. So the cultural icons of the Caribbean, which even now I'm trying to get them to know about the Claudette Peters and the TC.
Well, I will say this, the one name that travels with me, whether I'm in, I don't know, Middle East, Latin America, wherever, they know Viv. They know Viv Richards.
Oh, yes. How could I forget my Pisces brother? Yes. Vivian Richards, our legend.
They know
him as well. They know him, and they love, because when the moment I say that, they say, oh, they will say Jamaica.
Because the Caribbean is Jamaica, right?
The Caribbean is Jamaica. We accept that. We just accept it. But
I reject it. I'm Antiguan.
I make sure to give them a history of my little beautiful paradise Antigua. Kind of like the whole of the Caribbean is not Jamaica, okay?
Yes.
All right.
Tell me something you tell them about Antigua.
Well, even I will say the language, the same similarities that I talk about, because that's when I think the best ways to show them how connected we are, by just painting to them the picture of how the food is so similar, the languages are so similar. I even speak to them about King Court, Prince Class being our national hero. And, when they hear these things about heroes that have come from here and have gone to the Caribbean.
Because King Court was born in Ghana, yes?
Yes, King Court was born in Ghana, just like Queen Nanny from out of Jamaica. So when you speak about these things, that's when it hits home to them how connected we are as a people. But I always tell them about our beaches. I tell them, listen, y'all don't know beaches? I love Ghana, but y'all don't know beaches.
Anybody watching this Zoom, Antiguans are real snobs about beaches. We even look down at other beaches in the Caribbean because we have the best beaches. Facts.
We do. When
we travel to the Caribbean islands, y'all don't know we don't go to y'all beach because we have beaches. We have beaches and beaches and beaches.
365, one for every day of the year. You never get bored.
So on not to end on a dark note, but real quick, what do they understand about what has happened to us? Transshipment, transatlantic slave trade, what do they understand?
Not much. So and I think I fail to say that, because when you speak to them about that, one of the first things that they will do, especially if they carry a white savior complex or an inferiority complex, the first thing they will do is to justify it. For them, it's like, okay, we cannot blame the people because we are the ones who started it, and so and so and so and so. Completely disregarding the differences, completely
That sounds like some
disregarding.
brainwashing. So we can't blame
It is.
we can't blame the colonizers, you're saying? That's what you're saying? Because I blame
Go
them.
ahead.
You say that we can't blame the people. We can't blame the people who? The colonizers?
Oh no, I'm saying you can't. They're saying that we cannot blame the colonizers because we are the ones that
I very much can. I very much can blame the colonizers. What the hell?
You know what I asked them? I say, what is happening? Look at your country. Even when we had even when we had the shuttle system, Africa was still thriving in many ways. But look at your country now. Look at where you live. Look at how your resources are being
colonization did that, right? So how can we not blame it? It's an interesting, but you know, we have a long way to go. Let's leave it there. Last thing I want you to do for me is to tell me. Well, I want to learn something. I want to leave this group. So I want you to tell me how to say your name properly, but also teach me another word.
Okay. So if I'm going to tell you what my name is in my language, I will say Wofremi Abaya. My name is Wofremi
Abaya.
Wofremi Abaya. And it would be Abaya Manu Ababio.
Abaya Manu Ababio.
Okay. Which translates to the ancestor that keeps coming back.
Okay. Wofremi Abaya.
Yes. Manu Ababio.
Manu Ababio. The ancestor. So, coming back.
Which day were you born? Let me ask.
Me? I have no idea. I have no idea. I was born on January 5th. That's fine. I have to go back and look back and see what day was January 5th, 1973. I don't know.
So here, names are based on the day that you were born. So
well, you know, over here, our names are all kind of the colonizers' names, some make-up names, some all kinds of things. We're still finding ourselves.
And here too, in order for a person to be baptized, you literally have to forget your African cultural indigenous name and take on a biblical name. That's why you see a lot of Africans have promised salvation, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Sarah, Mary, everything.
All right.
The colonization continues in so many systems. It's hard.
The journey continues. I'm thankful to you for the little education you were able to give us today.
My pleasure.
And hopefully we'll be able to continue the conversation when we see your platforms sharing more information with us. Thank you so much for meeting with me today, Tashika. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.